go. All right, my friends, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. We are now running live, or not live, excuse me. I ought to try that one of these days and see if I can do that on this channel. We are currently looking at a Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game accessory for Forgotten Realms. This is from first edition because it does not say second up there, and this would not sure what the exact date is without digging around. 1988, 3 years after I graduated high school. And so we have the Waterdeep City of Splendors, the official game accessory city system called the City blah blah. So this basically is a freaking map that is large enough to cover your basement floor or pretty close to it. I got the lid backwards, great. So then I got the whole box backwards. Anyway, this has been on my shelf for many, many years. Obviously, since I bought it in late '88, probably early '89. It's hard to say. The thing with it would be we come with a small uh, entry book. This is very useful. A lot of useful stuff. And then the rest of it is maps. There's 10 maps total, and they're all supposed to be able to interconnect. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that here on my limited space and on my limited video. If I think about it, I will try to set some of this up someplace where I can take a photo of it. But this is a wall map for the city of Waterdeep in 3D. It's three-dimensional map, standalone map by itself. And for years, I was so tempted to put this up on the wall and turn this into a wall art. And if I had a bigger house with more room, this is the very sort of thing I would love. I would have it framed under glass to protect it, until I'm dead, because obviously nobody in my family will appreciate any of this stuff when I'm gone. And that's something that weighs on my brain every now and then. I'm getting older, is the day will come when I have to make a hard decision about my hobby, specifically my collection, and what to do with it. Because if I don't do something with it while I'm capable of dealing with it, it's likely to all end up in a dumpster. I'm just being real here. It's likely I'll end up in a dumpster because my immediate family has absolutely no understanding of what the value of this stuff would be to y'all. Right? That's probably will donate it to a charity, or I don't know, something. So we look at these maps, and they're very detailed and very colorful and very uh, not very convenient at the table. I mean, really, they're not very good and convenient at the table. Obviously, this is a border, because all the borders will have things like this. So if you laid this whole thing out, it could potentially cover your living room floor. Uh, I think I did this once. I had it all laid out once a long time ago. But in truth, it's sent on. If you look at this stuff is brand new. It has never been, other than that one or two times I've handled it. The maps have been hardly ever out of the box because they're just unwieldy. They're not something you can use very well on a large, unless you have a massive game table. It's just not very good setup, right? For practicality purposes. So that said, keep in mind, I do not remember if this came out. I want to say this probably came out before the big box set for Waterdeep. Like I've said it before, they had a box set that was probably 3 or 4 inches thick for Waterdeep, and then there was one for Undermountain, and I think a third one. I don't know that it was a series, but they were connected. And the major one for Waterdeep at the time was damn near $100. It was 90 something. Keep in mind that's when the average core book was $20. So to buy, you look at the core books today and they run what, $50, $40, $50. So that, they would have been selling that Waterdeep in today's money for $300. You get where I'm saying? So it was very expensive, and probably because of the level of art and stuff that was in it. And I don't remember. I paid 12. I tried $12 for this, according to this. I paid $12 for this set. And so I never bought the full-on Waterdeep set. And in part, I don't know that I needed to. And I think in part I didn't, because I already had this one. Don't quote me on that. Right. So we have the City System by Jeff Grubb and with Ed Greenwood's assistance. Goes into TSR, Lake Geneva, editing, Karen Baumgartner, cover art, Larry Elmore, topography, Betty Elmore. I'm just saying, imagine the amount of time it took an artist to draw this by hand so they could make the art from it. or the maps from it. So here's at a glance, it gives you how this map would lay out on the wall. And excuse me, I didn't used to have allergies. I didn't. Now I gotten older though. Certain times of the year is much more between the runny eyes and the runny noses that you're raising me nuts. Using this project, arranging the maps is 10 of the 12 maps in a set fit together to form an expanded view of the city of Waterdeep. See number 3. Map sections overlap to provide a continual tapestry of the urban settings. It's still a massive map. It would literally cover an entire wall in somebody's living room, I think. Then we get into let's see. The 11th map is a detailed interior diagram of Castle Waterdeep's headquarters of the effective civil government of the city. And then the final map is a picture of the city itself drawn from the outer harbor islands looking northward over the dockward. The city is built on a sloping plateau that levels out about the safe location is Castle Waterdeep, so details beyond this point are lost from the view. Right, so the city's actually potentially bigger than what this map shows. Right, because it extends beyond the ridge line a little bit on the other side. And so many of the physical details, blah blah. 7 wards of the city goes into breakdown that, and a timeline of the Waterdeep's history, the rulership, laws of peacekeeping, the legal code, justice. I found this piece to be much more helpful than the other stuff, but I never made use of it. I mean, obviously, I got in here at some point and made some stuff out of it, but I don't know that I don't remember pulling on this very often. Uh, and it's a shame because there's a couple sections in the back of this that we're going to touch on that I think, there. I see people do videos all the time of stuff. If I, 5 things to borrow from other blah blah blah. And I can tell you there's scores and scores of stuff that come from different eras, different editions, different systems that translate well or don't translate well, but are still extremely useful and are worth borrowing or stealing. I guess if that's how you want to, that's how you want to label it, so be it. So you get brief descriptions of the city buildings, Class B, Class C types of buildings, things like this. And once again, there is, and I've already done the video on it. There is another source book for Waterdeep that covers a lot of this. It's just a duplicate of that in reality, because if I go and I look at that, and I think that one's for second edition, so they reprinted it or they introduced it later after this, and they borrowed heavily from in here, right? And so we get this section here. This is something that I'm a fan of when it comes to urban settings, because it's a different form of random encounters. I'm a big believer, and I've said this over and over again, that I think a lot of people misunderstand how random encounters are meant to be utilized, or my idea how random encounters should be utilized varies from the standard, however you want to look at it. Uh, Another thing is I like to point out to game groups all the time. Over the years, sooner or later, especially newer players, you always have to have this conversation at some point that the idea of randomness is baked into a system on purpose. And well, it doesn't seem like it's just pure random. It just happens. Oh, just go around the corner and there's a bunch of orcs standing there. But not all combat, or excuse me, not all encounters are meant to be combat, and not all encounters should be settled with combat. And in doing so, reality shortchanges your experience something considerable. It's another thing too. Goes hand in hand with developing the idea for immersive play. The longer you play, the more in depth you get, the more comfortable you are with the system you have. You're going to have a bad habit of wanting to ignore that. It just seems counterintuitive to me. So in this case, it's street scenes. So if you just for shits and giggles, I can toss the dice and I can say, just let's just do that, just for fun. I'm going to toss a D100 in this case. So I'm going to just pull out a pair of tens. So there's 110. And hey, there's a really old 10, right? So we'll make the red one the actual tens and the white one the ones. So let's roll, and I get a whopping one. No, that's a 7. So I get a whole 70 there. So I'm going to look up number 70. And then it says here, Typical street scenes are provided for each ward of Waterdeep. The time of day will affect both the number of individuals on the scene and the types of those individuals. So it's just morning dawn to 10 a.m. +2, midday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. +1. The witching hour, midnight to dawn, -1, night dusk to midnight, 0. Now seasons like winter we take -0, and summer would be +1. So obviously the cold weather means fewer people are outdoors, and the warm weather means fewer or more people are outdoors, etc. So anyway, we rolled a 70, and we will go look at what 70 brought us. Okay. And so 70 in the castle ward, was that right? Yeah, 70 in the castle ward. So like actually 120. How the hell would you get 120? That's not a D. Is there 100? There ain't a D100, is there? I don't think so. I don't know where you guys are thinking. I mean, honestly, and you should have stopped at 100, fools. What do I know? Okay, so 7 dung sweepers. And that same number, name 70 in the C ward would be dung sweepers. What? Serious? That's lazy. You at least should change them up, not just, that's just weird. And number, really? Well, yeah, don't roll a 70, man. You're going to hit 70, and every one of them is going to be dung sweepers. I guess there's okay, yeah. There's something to be said that all the wards have the 70 is dung sweepers, street cleaners, right? You have animals, oxen, horses. Someone has to clean up after 'em. If you watch any kind of parade, look at the Macy's Day Parade, and you see horses, any troop of horses is followed by somebody with a street sweeper. Somebody's got a can and a broom and a shovel to pick up after them horses, and that's basically what these people do. I just found it interesting that it was number 70 clear across the thing, and I wonder if that holds true for a number of things. Because part of me tells me, yeah, see, it says here too. So 60 is a foreign merchant. 60 is a foreign merchant. So one of two things come to mind. First thing immediately think of is, in my mind, is that's just laziness. That people who created the chart should have shuffled it around a little bit. Should not have the same number falling on every ward the same thing. That said, there is a positive side to that. If you do this, if you use this system a lot and you become comfortable with it enough that you're familiar with it, knowing what that number is, if I roll a 70, it's going to be it's dung sweepers no matter where I go. If I roll a 60, it's a foreign merchant, no matter where I go. Then I don't have to worry about looking up. It's just, oh, it's a 60, it's this. How you can, if you got that kind of memory, you can remember all this stuff, knock yourself out. I think it's a mistake to do it that way, but it's fine. So we get things like magic users having a discussion, gladiators doing demonstration, children at play, crier advertising something, street vendors, runner in livery of a noble house, a minor official of Waterdeep, street vendors, porters, a ragged cleric, a minstrel entertainer, a crier for entertainer or theater, innocent bystanders with a 10% chance that they're a thief. And that's something to cover up later. So again, thing like, let's see, a young couple oblivious to the world, two young nobles in a loud archery discussion, you know, um, where's another one? There's one in here that pops up in a couple of them, and I thought, oh, you would not get this one in a modern day a supplement, right? Where are you at? Don't pretend like you're not here because I saw him the other day and I'm thinking, what? I don't remember that, but it makes sense. I mean, it really does. Seaward has got to be here for sure. Where are you at? Certain citizen, trotting cart with one passenger, broken cart or wagon, street vendors, beggars. Oh, for Pete's sake, where you at? Gosh darn it. Artist working on a mural on the wall, merchant fawning over a noble, old coots. Old coots shows up in all of them. I like that, right? Old geezers hanging around, BSing and watching the world go by, that kind of stuff. As if, the reality is that most old coots would be working themselves to death, and because that's how the world really worked in that era, in those times. Well, you know what? Why are you not, you're hiding. You're hiding. I don't get it. They leapt out, and now they won't. I'm not going to bother telling you what they are either if I can't find them. because I want to quote them exactly. I don't want to try to uh, explain it. Uh, yeah, it's about right. I run across stuff, and then when I want to share it with you, I can't find a damn thing. It just kind of buggers the brain a little bit. What is that? A brief description of the buildings. Yeah, we already seen that part. Services, warehouses, inns, taverns, nightclubs, feast halls, stables, private homes, rental villas, shops, fences, temples, and shrines. Where you at? Oh, it's gonna just bugger my brain, and then it will pop. Oh, here we go. Hard, hard currency girls. This shows up in 5 out of the 7 wards. Hard currency girls. What do you suspect? What do you think hard currency girls is a reference to? Like I said, I doubt that that one would show up in any new modern product. It just kind of is on the verge of going, oh, no. All right, so we got concerned citizens, dug sweepers, street clearers, members of the Dungeon Sweepers Guild or the Dung Sweepers Guild. They wear caps with orange and red feathers as badges of their craft. They carry brooms, shovels, rakes, and other instruments of destruction. So we actually break down some of that stuff. So, oh, hey, you even got an entry for that. Wow. Hard currency girls, soiled doves, ladies of the evening, dance hall girls with hearts of gold. So they even go out right flat out tell you that's what you're talking about. You're talking about prostitutes. Okay, so we get into creating stats and background for scenic characters. This is a piece that I uh, haven't seen and read in probably 25, 30 years. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, actually, this is not a bad thing to have. And there's some scenario extra stuff. Although I think I would enhance this to here. As scenic characters are not intended to have deep involvements or long combats with player characters. There's always a chance that some interplay will occur. A thief may decide that an NPC noble looks particularly inviting target for his pickpocket skills, or a paranoid PC fighter may think that those figures lurking in the shadows might be waiting for him. Wizards, clerics, other PC types have a level listing with their entry, etc., etc. So what we're talking about, in my opinion, we're looking for people that are reoccurring in some minor fashion. So, for example, if your adventuring party sets up, or the mercenary company that you're operating out of BattleTech sets up an office someplace. So you have your headquarters for your operation, and what you start to do is as the presenter of the scenario, or the storyteller of the drama, or the game master at the table, trying to give people trying to avoid railroading everybody, yet showing them that they have options, would sit there and go, okay, so outside the corner of your building is your building's on the corner of blah and blah, with with it backed up to an alley, or to a city wall or something that you can excavate under, or whatever. Uh, Out front, perhaps the same vendor shuts up shop. Maybe the same fishmonger, the same lady that's selling her hand sewn clothing. She has a little stall on the corner, and she's there every morning from 9 a.m. From 9 a.m. till mid afternoon, and then later in the afternoon she leaves, and her spot's taken over by somebody who runs three card monte or something like that. I don't know, for the evening shift. And so your characters see this on a regular basis when they come and they go. You don't tell them every time they come through, but every fourth, third, or 3 or 4 trips to the front of their building, you might say, "Oh well, Mary the seamstress over here is currently in having haggling with two younger ladies over a dress." Or maybe the next day, the next 3 4 days later, you come by, and you see her there looking all withdrawn and sullen and scared looking. Or maybe she's you come out, you're on your second floor, and you hear a commotion in in the street. You look out the window, and two roughnecks are her harassing her. I mean, what do you do? How do you handle it? You don't give it to if you do you care? I mean, meanwhile, you say eventually you work a rapport with them. I mean, look at the old coot. Maybe there's a pair of old coots that like to hang out around a Cracker Barrel at the local at the local greengrocer. I guess the greengrocer wouldn't likely have crackers. So let's say they're hanging outside the local bakery, and because they know the baker brings them samples on a regular basis. Anyway, they're out there every day, and they become useful eyes and ears on that particular stretch of street. Especially what happened, what if they're living down the block from your operation and you want to, potentially they could be hired by or suborned by a third party who wants to, keep an eye on your group, or, perhaps the other way around. So it's a matter of how you want to approach it, things how you want to take care of it. The other thing would be the keeping in mind, this is one of the things I loved about urban environments. Whether it's a small town or a massive city, doesn't matter. That the same people generally, this is where they live, they work, and they raise their families and stuff. So you're going to find the same people over and over again, even if you don't recognize them, you don't know who they are. There's that portly fellow, that portly merchant fellow with the absurd ostrich feather sticking out of his ear, that likes to come down the street every couple days around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, blah blah blah. Or you know the guy that hangs out with the baker's wife when during the day when he shouldn't be, that kind of stuff. You know, so we get monster encounters, typical encounters for daytime, nighttime, monster encounters, and then they have some adjustments based on how to adjust this encounter to fit uh, uh, the capability of the group that they're going to face. Once again, you imagine cheesing off some kind of undead that's got half amount of intelligence. Now the damn thing decides it's going to make you its frickin' whatever. So every now and then it shows up to terrorize your group or to infiltrate your place or to, I don't know, throw a hairball up on your pillow. Whatever works for you. How do you deal with it? What do you deal with it? What about the quote friendly ghost that wants to live in the attic and still manages to drain life, your life essence anytime you come near the damn thing, but it still wants to be useful and helpful, etc. Maybe it doesn't get it that it's dead. So we got reoccurring situations, knowledgeable street vendors, the raggedy priest, the drunken giants, the official, the dancing bear. Then we get into pickpocketing. This here is actually a very handy little tool. And this is the thing, if I were to steal something from one system to utilize in other systems, and I don't care what system, this is the sort of thing that we would want to look at, because you would have to modify what they find to fit your genre, but we could easily turn this into something for Shadowrun or BattleTech or a half a dozen systems that come right to mind. So in this case, the short version, occasionally PCs will find it in their interest to check out what is in the pockets of a non-player character. This is often a result of removing their belongings from the pockets, cutting purse strings, or checking the bodies of unconscious or deceased. Most NPCs will have 1 to 6 items from the table below. Add 1 to the die roll for the NPCs found in the north and sea wards. Subtract 1 die roll from them found in the dock ward. Even most nobles know not to carry their life savings in this rough neighborhood. So we have percentage of common item from subtable A, 80% chance. Valuable item subtable B, it's a 81 to 95%. And then 96 to 100% is a special. So we get things like a dagger, a single key, brush, comb, blank parchment, soap, perfume, soap, bar or in a pot, 1 to 8 needles, ink in a vial, spectacles or a magnifier, 1 to 4 darts, a handkerchief, a note with unimportant writing on it. Then we get into valuable items and 1 to 6 copper pieces, and then it goes on. So like 24 to 29, it's everything above plus an additional 1d6 So in the case, if I rolled a 29, I would roll 1d6 for copper, 1d6 for silver, 1d6 for gold, and 1d6 for electrum. And then we get things like jewelry and gems and a key ring with a bunch of keys, including a skeleton key, small sack, several small sacks, some trade bars, right? And special items. These are selected solely by the DM, include treasure mats, important messages, information, magical items. They will often be trapped and warded, otherwise protected from theft, etc. Right? Pickpockets, the long version. This gets into the thing a little bit more deep, and it specifies. So, like merchants, for example, versus laborers. Merchants are going to have different kind of stuff in their pockets than laborers ought to. That's what they're looking at there. So we get into some different subtables for that sort of stuff. Like, and then we have clothing, which is something that we tend to overlook a lot in most role-playing games in my experience. Where you have clothes, you're attired, nobody cares. It's not very many sessions that I've ever run where I had groups. The entire group decided they needed to go shopping for new attire. That they were going to spend the entire session basically haggling over prices at merchants. And I've heard other people have had those experiences. I have got to really go into that. It's just one of the reasons when you look at the equipment that's available in the player's handbook for Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of players' handbooks in a lot of systems are kind of vague and thin. They don't cover everything. That's the reason why there's been supplements that's all the whole book is full of stuff that you could potentially find and or have, including clothing. So we didn't have a whole lot to work on. You kind of had to play around and guess with it and stuff when we were younger, and then things have gotten improved over the years. This here tries to address some of that, but it allows you to roll things like the short gown and tunic and breeches. It says short gown with voluminous bagpipe sleeves and hose. I wouldn't come up with anything like that off the top of my head. Coif, which is a bonnet with a chin strap. Hoopalad, a male version. The male version is a surcoat with shaped sleeves worn over a long sleeve doublet. Right, it just goes through. So possible fabrics for fine garments, female accessories, female footwear, male footwear. Let's see, tools, sort of stuff that a craftsman might find. You might find in the pockets of a craftsman. A wooden mallet, the chisels, a sickle. You know, wedges. Iron 1 to 3 iron wedges. That'd be heavy to be hauling around in your pocket, I suppose, in your pouch. Bar iron, as in a morning star. A shovel. So basically, a bar of iron they can use as a club. Beat you senseless with it. Wealth, items of miscellaneous. I think I've always liked these sort of charts, and I've made use of them in my own game, and I've made use of these variations of these over the years I've made myself. So the possibilities for a lot of things are great there, and I don't know that you can you can get this anymore. I don't know that this is available. I suspect that this particular thing is a one time run. I don't know. I mean, the map work and stuff may have showed up in other later supplements and other Waterdeep material. Hell, they could all be in that big Waterdeep box too, for all I know. I've never seen the contents of it, so I don't know what's all in it. But I doubt you can find these unless you get one like this used. What would this be worth, you think? What do you think this would be worth today? It's worth $12 brand new in 1988. As you see, the box is a little worn, but the contents are brand new, or as good as brand new. Now, I bought this in 1988, late 88, early 89. What do you think the value of that would be? I'm staggered by it because I go on to Google every now and then when I'm trying to find something I've lost or don't have. And some stuff you can get quite reasonable. It's not much more expensive than what it was when they were new, and which is amazes me considering how old they are, how old they are. And then there'll be other items where they're retarded. They're asking $1,000 or $1,500 for it, and they understand that there's maybe the one of a kind as far as they know. And if somebody that's got deep enough pockets wants it bad enough, we'll pay them that money for it. I'm not going to lie. If I was like lottery winner witch, I won the Powerball, the Megan. I had $100 million to burn a hole in my pocket. I wouldn't think twice of buying stuff off the internet that was something I didn't own that was retardedly inflated, because then I would have the item, and what do I care what it cost? You know, there's a difference between the rich people and the majority of Americans in this country. That should not be a no-brainer. And that's what kills me the most about some of my uber conservative relatives and family and neighbors is they are so filled full of distrust and hate for people that are not them, that they would rather cut their own ears off than make sure everybody has a share. See, that's just counterintuitive to me. You're hurting yourself and your family and your loved ones and everybody around you because you're a petty a-hole. Yeah, I have a lot of those in my family, still do. And I don't talk to them, they don't talk to me, and then it is what it is. Till next time, Rick, this is Mama, and I hope you guys have yourself a great